Hello, in this video I'm going to review the Louis Carpini G2 violin outfit that's available at Kennedy Violins. And while we're at it, as a violin teacher, I'm going to tell you what to look for when buying a violin. And of course you're going to hear me play on this instrument to see if you like its sound. Now when you're buying a violin, there are actually two things to look for. Do you like playing on it? Does it work? And do you like its sound? Now it gets a little bit more complicated than that, because what makes a violin get a good sound and make it a pleasure to play is not only the materials, so that the right types of wood are used in the right quality level, and in this case with the Louis Carpini we have all the traditional types of wood. So we have a nice flamed maple back, and we have good quality ebony fingerboard, chin rest and pegs. So those are kind of the traditional materials. Now you might be, why is it important that certain parts are, for example, made out of ebony? Now ebony is a very strong type of wood, and I've experienced as students buy violins with cheaper or weaker types of wood for the fingerboard and for the peg, that for example the pegs break or they get out of shape, so they curve a little bit and then the violin isn't playable anymore. And also for the sound box, obviously it's very important that a good quality tone wood is used, because the violin will then sound better and will also last longer. It also needs a good setup. So Kennedy Violin provides professional setup on all violins, and then you might think, oh, I'm not a professional, why do I need a professional setup? Well, even if as a beginner you play your first open strings on the violin, it's really important that the violin can be tuned and stays in tune. Otherwise you're playing the wrong notes and you're playing out of tune without playing even out of tune. So that's really annoying. Then when you place your fingers on the strings, you want the strings to be not too high, because then you'll hurt your fingers, but you also don't want it to be too low, because then when the string vibrates you can get all kinds of type of noise when the string hits the fingerboard, for example. So it's really important that this part is really cut by hand, that of course the pegs fit in the peg box, otherwise the strings won't stay in place and the violin won't stay in tune. Then the bridge is really important. As a violin teacher, it's one of the first things I look at, and I do this way, so I see that the bridge is a little bit higher at the G string and lower at the E string, because the G string is not so tight as the E string, and the G string's vibration is a bigger movement. So if you would have the same height for all strings, then it would be really hard and painful to play on the E string. Or if it's all low, then the G string would slap the fingerboard while vibrating and you won't get a decent sound. Also the curve of this bridge needs to be curved in the right way, so that you can actually play on one string at the same time and you won't hit other strings all the time. Or if the bridge is too curved, then the height per string isn't good, and also you really have to make big movements string crossing. So it has to be just right. And even for basic things like tuning, playing on open strings, playing your first notes as a beginner, a professional setup is important. So the professional setup refers to the person doing the setup is a professional, and not to the person playing the instrument. We all need a good setup of our instruments. Kennedy Violins have this great checklist to ensure that these instruments are set up in a great way. This violin has 4 fine tuners, which is really convenient for beginners and also intermediate students. It just makes it easier to tune. And I know that 2-set violin mocks the 4 fine tuners, but in your first years of violin playing it's really handy to have it. And you can always switch to a different tailpiece if you want less fine tuners, 2 or maybe 1. And this Louis Carpini violin comes at a little below $700, and that's the violin, but also a very, very nice sturdy case with a lot of space to store all your things. And it comes with this Brazil wood Giuliani bow, and while playing I found it to be really a secure bow. So certainly if you're like this beginner-ish or intermediate player and you don't want a bow that bounces everywhere, then this is a good bow. It makes a good sound, and you can also do other bowing techniques like, for example, spiccato with this bow, while at the same time it gives you that secure feeling. For whom is this violin? Well, it can be seen as a superior student violin, and that means that you can start out on it, and children can also start out on this violin. It's available from size 1/8. And you can use it as a beginner student, but also if you are advancing, then you can just enjoy this instrument for many years and might play it in your local community orchestra. So it's a great all-around instrument that I can highly recommend, but of course you have to listen for yourself if you do like the sound of this instrument, because we already talked about how important the materials and the setup are. And of course you must like the feel of the violin. That means that the neck is shaped in a good way. And you must like the bow of the instrument, that it makes your life easier. And then of course you must really like its sound. So here it is. Now, all in all, this is really a great option for you to get if you are looking to buy a new violin. And another great option is the Fiddlerman concert violin that I've reviewed in this video. So you might enjoy watching that violin review. And please let me know in the comments what type of things you want me to review. So what price range of violins, of bows, maybe you want me to review strings or something entirely different. Just let me know so I have ideas for future videos for you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!